My father is not a man who asks for help. Let me make that clear before anything else. Harold Cole is 79 years old. He was a postal worker for 34 years. He raised me and my sister after our mother passed when I was 11. He fixed everything in our house himself. The plumbing, the roof, the engine on the Bic that nobody else could touch. He didn't call me when he had the prostate scare in 2019. He didn't call me when the tree fell on the garage in 2021. He didn't call me when he slipped on the porch steps last February and thought he'd bruised his ribs. Turned out they were cracked. He told me 6 weeks later, when they'd already healed. So understand something. When Harold Cole calls you at 6:48 on a Saturday morning and says your name the way he said my name that day, something is wrong. Not inconvenient wrong. Wrong. My name is Raymond Cole. I'm 56 years old. I spent 22 years as a firefighter in Columbus, Ohio. Retired on a partial disability after a roof collapse in 2018 that did things to my left knee that I don't talk about at parties. Now I run a small property management company. 8 units. Nothing glamorous. But it's mine and it keeps the lights on and it gets me out of bed with a reason. I have been married to Denise Cole for 9 years. I am going to tell you about those 9 years. But first I need to tell you about 6:48 on a Saturday morning. My phone was on the nightstand. I was already half awake the way I always am. 22 years of shift work does something permanent to a man's sleep. You never fully go under. Some part of you is always listening. Dad lit up the screen. I picked up before the second ring. Dad. What's wrong? Not a question. A statement. Raymond. His voice was thin. Wrong. Harold Cole had a voice like gravel on a steel drum. Deep. Certain. The kind of voice that filled a room without trying. This wasn't that voice. I'm on the floor, son. Everything in me went cold and focused at the same time. Which floor? The kitchen. I was getting the coffee started and my hip just went out from under me. I tried to get up twice. I can't. How long? Since about 6. Maybe a little before. Dad. That's almost an hour. I know. I didn't want to bother you. There it is. 79 years old. On the kitchen floor for an hour. Didn't want to bother me. I was already sitting up. Already reaching for my jeans. Don't move, I told him. Don't try to get up again. Just stay still. I'm coming. It's probably nothing. Just stiff. Maybe I just need to. Dad. Stop. I'm coming. Keep talking to me. Denise stirred beside me. I had my jeans halfway on. Phone wedged between my ear and my shoulder. Who is that? She said. Not who is it with concern. With the voice she used when she felt her Saturday morning was being inconvenienced. It's my dad. I kept my voice level. He fell. I'm going over there. A pause. The kind that tells you everything. Is he okay? I don't know yet. That's why I'm going. Raymond. She sat up slowly. Hair perfect somehow. Like she'd arranged it before sleeping. It's not even 7 in the morning. I know what time it is, Denise. I had my shirt on. Looking for my keys. Can't you just call 911? He doesn't want an ambulance. You know how he is. She exhaled. Slow. The specific exhale of a woman who had decided something was not her problem. Your father has people, Raymond. I stopped. Keys in my hand. I turned and looked at her. She was already pulling the blanket back up. He has neighbors. He has your sister. He has that friend from the post office. Your father has people. I stood there for exactly 2 seconds. Then I walked out of the bedroom. Not because I had nothing to say. Because I had too much. And Harold Cole was on his kitchen floor and I didn't have time for any of it. Marcus Webb lives 3 streets over. We met on a job site 7 years ago. He does electrical work. I manage properties. We'd crossed paths enough times to go from nodding to talking to having a standing Tuesday lunch at the diner on Broad Street. The kind of friendship that doesn't announce itself. It just shows up. Consistently. Without drama. He'd met my dad once at my company's 4th of July thing 2 years ago. Spent 45 minutes with him talking about nothing and everything. Baseball. The post office. The neighborhood Harold grew up in. Harold had told me afterward that Marcus is good people. Harold didn't say that lightly. I called Marcus from the car at 6:52. He picked up on the second ring. Talk to me, he said. My dad fell. I'm headed to him now. My truck's blocking Denise's car and I didn't want to wait for her to. I'm getting dressed, he said. Marcus. Address, Raymond. Give me the address. That's it. No negotiation. No checking his calendar. No asking if it was serious enough to warrant it. Just, I'm getting dressed. Give me the address. Some people are built different. Make a note of them. Keep them close. I got to Dad's house on Fenwick Street at 7:09. I had a key. Had for years. He was on the kitchen floor exactly where he said he'd be. On his side. His hand flat against the linoleum like he'd been bracing. His coffee maker had finished its cycle and was just sitting there. Full pot. Mocking him gently. Dad. I was down on one knee beside him before the door finished closing. Raymond. He looked up at me. Relief in his face. The specific relief of a man who doesn't let himself look relieved very often. I'm here. I'm right here. I tried to get up, he said. Twice. I know. You told me. Stop trying. It's my hip. I felt it go. Like something just slid sideways. Don't move it. I had my phone out. I knew what this sounded like. I had been on enough emergency calls in 22 years to know what a hip fracture felt like from 3 feet away. The position he was in. The way he was guarding his right side without even realizing it. The specific stillness of a man managing serious pain by not moving. I'm calling for an ambulance, Dad. Raymond. Dad. This is the hill I'm dying on. An ambulance is coming. He was quiet for exactly 1 second. Fine, he said. That one word told me everything. Harold Cole agreeing to an ambulance without a fight. He was in real pain. I called 911. Gave them the address. Told them what I suspected. They said 8 minutes. I sat down on the kitchen floor next to my father. Right there on the linoleum. He looked at me sideways. You didn't have to come, he said. Dad. I mean it. You could have just called someone to. Dad. Stop talking. He stopped. We sat there on his kitchen floor together. The coffee maker clicked off. The refrigerator hummed. Outside on Fenwick Street the Saturday morning was just starting to wake up. And I thought about Denise saying your father has people. And I thought about sitting on this floor. And I thought about 22 years of showing up in burning buildings for strangers. And I thought, I will always get off this floor for this man. Always. Marcus arrived at 7:16. 3 minutes before the ambulance. He just walked in because I'd left the door open. Came and crouched on the other side of my father. Mr. Harold, he said. Marcus. My dad's voice warmed. Even on the kitchen floor. Even in pain. He warmed. Don't you worry about me. I'm fine. I know you are, sir. You're Harold Cole. You don't do anything else. My father almost smiled. Almost. The ambulance came at 7:19. 2 paramedics. Professional. Efficient. They confirmed what I already knew. Suspected right hip fracture, they said. We need to get him in. Harold let them do their work. Didn't fight it. Didn't argue. Which told me everything I needed to know about how much pain he was in. Marcus rode with me to Riverside Medical Center on Claiborne Avenue. He didn't ask if I wanted company. He just got in the car. That's what people do. Some people. Denise texted at 7:34. Just one message. Let me know what the doctors say. Let me know. Not, I'm coming. Not, do you need me there? Not, should I cancel Savannah? Let me know what the doctors say. I put my phone face down on my thigh and kept driving. Riverside Medical Center was busy for a Saturday morning. We checked in at the ER desk at 7:41. The woman behind the desk was calm and quick. Name, date of birth, relationship to patient. Son, I said. She looked up at me for just a second. Just a second. He's in good hands, she said. It's a small thing to say. Routine thing. But I felt it. We sat in the waiting room. Plastic chairs. Fluorescent lights. A TV in the corner showing a morning news program with the sound too low to hear. Marcus sat next to me. He didn't talk. He didn't fill the silence with things he didn't mean. He just sat there. Present. The way a real friend sits. You just show up and you stay. I drank coffee from the waiting room machine at 8:03. It tasted like regret and burnt rubber. I drank every drop. Denise texted again at 8:17. I've moved our Savannah reservation. We can leave Sunday instead of today if this is a whole thing. A whole thing. Her father-in-law suspected hip fracture on his kitchen floor is a whole thing. Sunday instead of today. I didn't answer. Marcus saw my face. He didn't ask. He just reached over and turned my phone face down on my knee. Good man. Dr. Anita Sharma came out at 9:44. Small woman. Sharp eyes. The kind of doctor who didn't waste words. Mr. Cole? Both Marcus and I stood up. She looked between us. Raymond Cole, I said. I'm his son. She nodded. Your father has a displaced femoral neck fracture of the right hip. It's a significant break. He's going to need surgery. I exhaled slowly. Okay. Hip replacement, partial. We want to get him in later today or tomorrow morning at the latest. The sooner we operate, the better the outcome. Is he awake? Can I see him? He's awake. He's asking for you. Of course he is. Of course Harold Cole with a broken hip and a morning on the kitchen floor was awake and asking for his son. Because that's what Harold Cole did. He held on. He stayed conscious. He asked for his people. I went back to see him at 9:47. Room 4, behind a blue curtain. He looked smaller on the hospital bed. I hate that. That specific thing where a person you love looks smaller in a hospital bed than they do in real life. Harold Cole was not a small man. He'd stood 6 feet tall his whole life. Had hands like work gloves. Had a laugh that could carry across a backyard. He looked smaller. But his eyes were clear. And when I pulled the curtain back he looked at me and said, I told you it was probably nothing. I love you, Dad. He blinked. Harold Cole didn't blink often. I love you too, son. He reached up. Gripped my arm with his right hand. Still strong. The grip of a man who had spent 34 years carrying mail through Ohio winters. Now stop looking at me like that. I'm not dead. I know. Hip surgery isn't the end of the world. I know. Your mother had a hip surgery. I know, Dad. She lived another 11 years after. I know. He released my arm. How bad does it hurt? He considered the question like he was weighing something. Enough, he said. That meant a lot. You need anything right now? He looked toward the curtain. Is Marcus out there? Yeah. Go sit with him. You're hovering. I don't need hovering. Dad. Raymond. His voice was quiet. Firm. I can't do anything about this hip right now. But I can do something about you standing here looking like a man at a funeral. So go sit down. Drink some more of that terrible coffee. And let me rest. I stood there for a moment. This man. This stubborn, strong, self-sufficient, impossible, magnificent man. Okay, I said. He closed his eyes. I'll be right outside, I told him. I know where to find you, he said. You always show up. You always show up. I walked back out to the waiting room. Sat down next to Marcus. He took one look at my face. You holding up? He asked. Yeah. He nodded. Good surgery for this kind of fracture, he said. My uncle had one at 81. Was walking with a cane in 6 weeks. Your uncle tough? Not as tough as your dad. That's true. Marcus smiled. I almost did. My phone buzzed. Denise. I'm going to go ahead and head to Savannah today. You'll probably be at the hospital all day anyway and I've already packed. Text me updates. Text me updates. I stared at that message for a long time. Text me updates. While she drove to Savannah. While her father-in-law was in a hospital bed scheduled for hip surgery. Text me updates. I put the phone back in my pocket. And something that had been very slowly moving in me for 9 years finally arrived at its destination. Not anger. Clarity. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Hit the like button while you're there. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You're going to want to be here for this. The surgery was scheduled for the following morning. Sunday at 7 a.m. They admitted Dad to room 412 at 11:30 Saturday. Marcus stayed until 2 in the afternoon. He didn't have to. I told him that 3 times. He ignored me all 3 times. His wife Angela came by at 12:30 with food. Not hospital food. Real food. Sandwiches from the place on 5th that Dad had mentioned liking once 8 months ago, when Marcus had been listening. She sat with us for an hour. Asked about Harold. Asked the right questions. Left the right amount of quiet. When they finally left at 2:05 Marcus shook my hand at the elevator. You call me when he's out of surgery, he said. Tomorrow morning. Don't care what time. Marcus. Raymond. He looked at me flat. Okay. Yeah. I'll call. Good. He stepped into the elevator. Turned back before the doors closed. You're not alone in this. You know that? I knew it. I just hadn't felt it in a while. I spent the rest of Saturday at Riverside Medical Center. I sat with Dad through the afternoon. We watched 2 innings of a baseball game on the wall-mounted TV. He told me the pitcher's mechanics were wrong and predicted exactly what would happen. He was right. He always was. Around 4 p.m. a woman named Patricia came in to talk about post-surgery care, physical therapy, discharge planning, the 6 to 8 weeks of recovery that would follow the operation. She was thorough, patient, talked to Dad directly instead of around him, which he appreciated. He'd need someone with him during recovery, not 24 hours, but regular check-ins, help with meals, rides to PT appointments. I'll handle it, I said. She made notes. Dad looked at me. You don't have to, Dad. I said it the way he said my name when I was 14 and tried to argue my curfew. Flat. Final. Not mean. Just done. He closed his mouth. I'll handle it, I told Patricia again. She nodded. Made more notes. Good, she said. And looked at Dad. You've got a good son, Mr. Cole. He looked at me. I know, he said. I've always known. Denise texted at 6:22. Hotel is beautiful. Dinner was amazing. How's Harold? Harold. Not your father. Not Dad. I stared at my father in his hospital bed, watching the baseball game, eating the jello the nurse had brought because the kitchen was closed and he'd asked nicely. Harold. Eating jello, waiting for surgery at 7 a.m. I typed back, surgery tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. 3 dots appeared. Then, okay. That's good, they're moving fast. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how it goes. The dots disappeared. I put the phone away. Dad looked over at me. Denise in Savannah? He asked. He missed nothing. Never had. I just nodded. He was quiet for a moment. His eyes went back to the TV. Raymond. Yeah, Dad. You've been carrying something a long time. He didn't look at me when he said it. Just kept watching the game. A pitcher walking a batter he should have struck out. You know what I mean? I knew exactly what he meant. Yeah, I said quietly. He nodded once. That's all. Just that? But Harold Cole had a way of saying everything in what he didn't say. And I heard every word of it. I drove home at 9:30 that night. The house was empty, which was strange in the way that empty houses are strange when you expect someone to be in them. No, it wasn't strange. It was quiet. There's a difference. I made myself a sandwich. Sat at the kitchen table. Called my sister Diane in Cincinnati. She picked up first ring. Ray. Is he okay? Surgery's tomorrow morning. 7 o'clock. Oh God. She exhaled. I'm getting on the highway. Diane. I'm already looking at my keys. It's 9:30 at night. It's a 3-hour drive. Then I'll be there by 12:30. The surgery isn't until 7. Ray. Her voice cracked. Just slightly. That's our father. I know. I'm coming. Okay. Yeah. Come. She came. She arrived at 12:47 in the morning and slept in Dad's guest room and was at Riverside Medical by 6:15 in the morning, hair still damp, jacket over pajamas, coffee from a drive-thru in each hand. She handed me one. She didn't ask where Denise was. She knew. Diane had always known. Some people see things clearly from the very beginning. Dad's surgery started at 7:08 Sunday morning. Diane and I sat in the surgical waiting room on the 3rd floor. Plastic chairs. Different configuration. Same fluorescent lights. I told her everything. Not just Saturday. All of it. 9 years of it. The way you finally tell someone the truth when you're exhausted enough to stop managing their reaction. She listened. The whole thing. Didn't interrupt. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Ray, I've been waiting for you to say that out loud for about 6 years. I know. You've been carrying it alone. I know. Does she know how close you are to? Yeah. I think she does. Another quiet. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. I said it honestly. I'm not making any decisions until Dad is through this. Until he's home. Until I know he's okay. She nodded. That's right, she said. That's exactly right. She put her hand over mine on the armrest. Diane was 3 years younger than me. Had her mother's hands. Had Harold's stubbornness. Had my mother's heart. "You're not alone," she said. That was the second time in 2 days someone had told me that. Marcus on Saturday. Diane on Sunday. And I had been alone, in the specific way of someone surrounded by people, for a very long time. I was starting to understand how much. Dr. Emeka Osei came out at 9:52. Tall man. Calm manner. The kind of surgeon who moved through rooms like nothing surprised him. "It went well," he said. "The repair was clean. No complications. Your father is strong for his age. Very strong actually. Of course he is. We expect a good recovery. He'll be sore. He'll need the physical therapy. But there's no reason he can't get back to a full life with the right support." "He has support," I said. He looked at me. Then at Diane. "Good," he said. "That's what makes the difference. Always." I went in to see Dad at 10:34. He was groggy from the anesthesia. But he opened his eyes when he heard my voice. "Raymond." "Right here, Dad." He looked around the room. Diane was in the doorway. He saw her. Something moved across his face. "Baby girl," he said. Diane pressed her lips together for exactly 1 second. Then she walked over to the other side of his bed. Took his hand. "Hi, Daddy," she said. And Harold Cole closed his eyes. He had both his children in the room. He went back to sleep with a small specific piece on his face that I hadn't seen in a long time. Denise texted at 11:17. "How did surgery go?" I typed back, "Good. He's out. Recovery looks positive. 3 dots. That's great news. We're at the beach. Weather is perfect. Might stay an extra day if that's okay." An extra day. Might stay an extra day. I read that text 3 times. I set my phone down on the waiting room chair. I looked at the ceiling. Diane was watching me. She saw my face. She said nothing. She just reached over and handed me the second half of her granola bar. Which was exactly the right thing to do. Dad was moved to a regular room Monday morning. Room 518. Window with a view of the parking lot. He immediately decided this was unacceptable and asked if he could be moved to a room with a better view. The nurse told him she'd see what she could do. She said it kindly. He knew it meant no. He accepted this. With notable dignity for a man who had just had his hip replaced. Diane stayed through Monday. She had taken emergency leave from her job in Cincinnati. Her company gave her 5 days. She used all of them. Marcus Webb came back Monday evening. Brought food again. Spent an hour with Dad, who was more alert now, more himself, and spent the whole hour telling Marcus exactly why the Columbus Blue Jackets had made a strategic error in their last draft. Marcus listened to every word like it was the most interesting thing he'd ever heard. Harold liked Marcus. Harold was a good judge of people. Always had been. Denise came home Tuesday. I was at Riverside when she got back. She texted me, "Home. House seems fine. When are you back? When are you back?" Like I'd been on a trip. I drove home at 7 p.m. She was in the kitchen. Tan. Rested. She'd had a good weekend. She looked at me when I came in. "How's Harold?" she asked. My father. My father who had just had hip surgery. Harold. I set my keys on the hook. He's going to need 6 to 8 weeks of recovery support. I'll be over there daily. Diane's staying through Wednesday. Then it's me. She crossed her arms. "Raymond. We have a life too, you know." I looked at her. I really looked at her. 9 years of mornings and evenings and Christmases and Sundays. 9 years of carrying something quietly. "He has people," she said. There it was. "Your father has people." The third time in 4 days. Said it like it was reasonable. Said it like it made sense. Like a man's family was a hotel that could be handled from a distance by calling ahead. Like showing up was optional. Like showing up was inconvenient. I stood there for a moment. The kitchen was warm. Dinner smell. She'd made something. Set the table. Like everything was normal. Like we were normal. Like she hadn't missed her father-in-law's hip surgery to eat seafood in Georgia. I sat down at the table. Not because I was hungry. Because I needed to think clearly. And standing up, I wasn't going to be able to do that. "Denise," I said. Slowly. She sat across from me. "Raymond, before you say something, I want to explain." "I'm listening." She exhaled. Settled. Your father and I have a complicated relationship. You know that. I know that. He's never really accepted me. Not fully. You know he hasn't. I said nothing. And every time something happens with him, I'm the one who's supposed to drop everything. Cancel everything. And she paused. I've given a lot to this marriage. To your family. And sometimes I feel like it's not. Denise. Flat. She stopped. I leaned forward slightly. Both hands on the table. Where were you Saturday morning? I asked. She blinked. You know where I was. Say it. Raymond. Say it, Denise. She pressed her lips together. I was in Savannah. With who? With Joanne and Kara and Leslie. And what were you doing when I called from my father's kitchen floor? Her jaw tightened. What exactly were you doing? She looked away. I was sleeping. And what did I tell you? That Harold had fallen. That he couldn't get up. That his hip had gone out. She said nothing. And what did you say to me? The kitchen was completely still. Denise. Your father has people. She said it quietly. Her own words. Back in the air. She had the specific look of a person hearing themselves from the outside for the first time. Not liking the sound. And what did I do after that? Raymond. What did I do? You left. And who drove me? She looked at the table. Marcus, she said. Marcus. A man I met on a job site. A man who my father met one time at a 4th of July cookout. Who drove me without being asked and sat in a parking lot for 2 hours and brought food on 2 separate days and came back Monday evening and listened to my father talk about hockey for an hour. I paused. And where were you? The table was between us. And the 9 years were between us. And everything unsaid was between us. And I realized in that kitchen, looking at this woman I had given 9 years to, that I was done trying to close the distance. Not angry. Done. There's a difference. That was Tuesday. Wednesday morning I went to Riverside at 6:30 a.m. Diane was already there. We had coffee together in Dad's room while he slept. She looked at me over her cup. You decide anything? She asked. Working on it, I said. She nodded. She'd always known not to push. Dad woke up at 7:15. Physical therapy was at 8. A young man named Darius came for him. Patient. Strong. The kind of PT who made hard things feel manageable. I watched my father stand for the first time since the kitchen floor. He didn't make a sound. Not one. He stood. Put weight on it. Walked for steps with the walker. Darius counting. I stood in the doorway of room 518 and watched Harold Cole take 4 steps and I thought, this man has been walking toward me my entire life. Every single year. Every time I needed him. He was walking toward me the day my mother died. He was walking toward me at my college graduation. He was walking toward me when my first marriage ended and I thought I was done and he showed up with coffee and a level voice and stayed for 4 hours and just talked. He has always been walking toward me. For steps. Walker clicking on the tile. Physical therapist counting. And something in my chest broke open in the most necessary possible way. Dad was moved to the rehab facility Thursday. Sunrise recovery on Morse Road. Single room. South facing. Actual sun coming through the window. He was pleased. He would never say pleased. But he was. We got him settled by noon. His things from home. His cardigan. His reading glasses. The specific blanket he'd had for 20 years that he would also never admit mattered to him. It mattered. Diane had to leave Thursday afternoon. Her flight was at 4. She hugged Dad for a long time at the door. He let her. He patted her back twice. Twice. Harold Cole. "Di," he said. "You didn't have to drive up here at midnight." She pulled back. Looked at him. "Yes I did, Daddy," she said. He held her eyes for a moment. Then he nodded once. "Take care of yourself. You take care of yourself." She left. I sat with him until 6 that evening. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Around 5 he looked at me. "Raymond." He said it quiet. "Yeah, Dad. I have something I want to do." I waited. "I want to call Gerald Marsh." Gerald Marsh. Attorney. 38 years in practice. Family law and estate planning. He had handled my parents' estate documents since the early 2000s. Sharp man. Thorough. Old school. I kept my voice neutral. "Okay," I said. He reached for his phone on the bedside table. Found the number. "I want to update my documents," he said. My will specifically. I looked at my father. 79 years old. 2 days out of hip surgery. In a rehab facility on Morse Road. And completely, absolutely clear. Dad. You don't have to. Son. His voice was the old voice. The gravel and steel voice. The full voice. I've been thinking about this for a while. Not just this week. A while. I kept my hands in my lap. He looked at me. I know what I want to do. I know where my life's work belongs. He looked toward the window. The sun was coming through just right. Golden long and the specific afternoon light of an Ohio March that knows spring is still a way off but is trying anyway. I've worked my whole life, he said. Your mother and I both did. I know, Dad. I know you know. He picked up his phone. Dialed. Gerald Marsh's office. The assistant picked up. He gave his name. He was put through. Gerald. It's Harold Cole. Raymond, he said on the other end. Harold. How are you? I'm in rehab. Hip surgery. I'm sorry to hear it. Serious? Serious enough to make a man think clearly, he said. My dad. Even laid up with a broken hip and a view of the parking lot. I smiled. He didn't see it. Gerald, he said. I need to update my documents. The will specifically. Of course. Do you want me to come to you or? Tomorrow if possible. I'll be there at 10, Gerald said. Good. He glanced at me. My son will be present. Of course. He set the phone down. Looked at me. Don't make a fuss, he said. I'm not making a fuss. You're making a face. I'm not. Raymond. Okay. I might be making a face. The corner of his mouth moved. Go get me something from that vending machine down the hall, he said. The peanut butter crackers. The orange package. Dad, you just had hip surgery. You can't eat. The orange package, Raymond. I went and got the peanut butter crackers. He ate them with complete satisfaction. And we watched the evening news together until the nurse came to take his vitals. And I thought about Gerald Marsh coming at 10 tomorrow morning. And I felt two things at the same time. The same two things from the parking lot on Saturday. Gratitude. And something quiet. Something that was finally done waiting. Gerald Marsh arrived at 10:03 Friday morning. Charcoal coat. Briefcase that had been everywhere. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke and charged accordingly. He shook Dad's hand. Then mine. He sat down and opened his briefcase and said, "Tell me what you need." Dad told him. I sat in the corner chair. Quiet. Present. A witness. The conversation lasted 52 minutes. I won't tell you every word. Some things are private. But I'll tell you this. When Gerald Marsh closed his briefcase and stood up to leave, the documents that had existed before that conversation had been fundamentally and permanently rewritten. The house on Fenwick Street. Paid off in 2011. Harold Cole's hands and Harold Cole's savings and 34 years of Harold Cole carrying mail through Columbus winters. Harold's. The investment accounts my mother and father had built together through 40 years of quiet discipline and going without. Harold's to give. The Ford F-150 in the garage. The one he still drove every week. The one he kept in meticulous condition because a tool that works is a tool worth keeping. Harold's to place. The $15,000 earmarked for the animal shelter on Alum Creek Drive. Because Rebecca Cole had volunteered there every other Saturday for 9 years. Because Harold Cole honored what his wife had loved even years after she was gone. Because that's who he was. Denise's name appeared 0 times. Gerald shook my hand at the door. He looked back at my father. Harold, he said quietly. You've got your head on straight. Harold was already reaching for the remote control. Always have, he said. Gerald Marsh pressed his lips together. Then he nodded. And left. I sat back down. Dad flipped through channels. Settled on a nature documentary. A man who knows what is built, he said. Quiet. Not looking at me. Watching a camera pan across a mountain range. He knows where it belongs. I said nothing. Outside on Morse Road the Friday morning was going on. Cars passing. A delivery truck. Someone walking a dog. The regular world. Going about its regular business. Completely unaware that Harold Cole had just loved his son in the most permanent and practical way he knew how. No drama. No speech. Just a man. And a briefcase. And 52 minutes. And a decision made from a lifetime of knowing what mattered. I drove home at 12:30. Denise's car was in the driveway. She worked from home on Fridays. I sat in my truck for a full minute. My phone was on the seat. 14 missed calls from Thursday afternoon through this morning. She'd figured something out. Gerald Marsh's office had called the house. Standard notification. She'd gotten the message. And she knew. Or she was beginning to. I went inside. She was standing in the living room. Not sitting. Standing. The way people stand when they've been waiting, and sitting no longer felt like an option. Her face was different. The composure was there. She was good at composure. But underneath it was something I hadn't seen before. Not anger. Fear. Real fear. The kind that shows up when consequences finally land. Raymond. I set my keys on the hook. Gerald Marsh's office called, she said. I know. What did your father do? What he decided to do? I walked to the kitchen. She followed me. Did he change the will? He updated his documents, yes. Her voice tightened. Completely? He made the decisions he felt were right. She pressed both hands flat on the kitchen counter. Raymond. I want you to talk to him. Ask him to reconsider. He's just upset. He's in the hospital. He's not thinking. He's the clearest thinker I know, I said. She stopped. And what he thinks, I continued, is that a person who shows up for someone he loves deserves to have that showing up recognized. That's his right, I said. He earned that right. She looked at me. Really looked. Like she was looking for something familiar and finding something different. And we need to talk, I said. Not about my dad's will. About us. The kitchen was quiet. Her hands were still flat on the counter. I sat down at the table. Slow. Deliberate. The way you sit down when you've decided something and you want your body to know it too. Denise. Her name. Just that. The way my dad said mine. Flat. Final. Not cruel. Just done. She sat down across from me. And I started talking. And for the first time in 9 years. I said all of it. I'll tell you what I didn't do. I didn't yell. I didn't list everything she'd ever done wrong. I didn't bring up Savannah 17 times. I just told her the truth. That I had been running toward things alone for a very long time. That I had been calling ahead instead of having someone standing next to me. That somewhere in 9 years I had stopped expecting her to show up and had just started figuring it out. And that figuring it out alone wasn't the same as being okay. And that I wasn't okay. And that I needed to stop pretending I was. She listened. The whole thing. When I was done, the kitchen was quiet. She looked at her hands on the table. Then she said, I know I haven't been what you needed. Okay. I know Saturday was. Denise. She looked up. I'm not asking you to explain Saturday. I'm not explaining anything. I looked at her. This isn't a fight, I said. I'm not angry. Then what is it? It's a conclusion. The color left her face. Slowly. Raymond. I made my father a promise, I said. 3 years ago. I told him that if something happened to him, I would be there. Every time. No exceptions. I paused. I kept that promise. She said nothing. Your father has people, I said. Quietly. Those were your words. Her eyes closed. My dad had people too. He had me. He had Diane. He had Marcus Webb, who showed up at 7:16 in the morning without being asked. He had Beverly the nurse and Darius the PT and Dr. Sharma and Dr. Osei and Gerald Marsh. He had people who showed up. I looked at Denise. He also had a daughter-in-law. She kept her eyes closed. He just stopped counting on her a while ago. The kitchen. Just the refrigerator humming. And the truth sitting in the air between us. The kind of truth you can't say. The kind that's been waiting for years. I stood up. I need some time, I said. I need to think. She opened her eyes. They were wet. Not dramatic. Just wet. The specific tears of someone who finally fully understands what they've cost themselves. I'm going to check on my dad, I said. And I walked to the door. Put my coat on. Picked up my keys. And I stopped. You know what the hardest part is? I said. I turned back. She was still sitting at the table. He never asked you to be different. He asked you to show up once or twice. That's it. She looked at me. Just once or twice. And you couldn't do it. I opened the door. The Ohio air hit me. Cold. Honest. March clear. And I exhaled. The same way I exhaled on the porch at Fenwick Street that Friday evening. From somewhere deep. Something I had been holding for 9 years. I didn't make any decisions that afternoon. Just the one. That I was going to Sunrise Recovery on Morse Road. That I was going to sit with my father. That I was going to watch the rest of that nature documentary. And eat whatever was in the orange package from the vending machine. And be exactly where I was supposed to be. Next to the man who had always shown up for me. Who had taught me what showing up looked like. And who had just loved me one more time in the most permanent way available to a 79-year-old man with a replaced hip and a clear head and 52 minutes and Gerald Marsh. I drove to Morse Road. I walked into Sunrise Recovery. I took the elevator to the 2nd floor. I knocked on the door of room 214. "Come in," he said. The gravel voice. The steel drum voice. His full voice. I came in. He looked at me from his chair by the window. The sun was on him. That specific March light again. He looked like himself. He looked like my father. He looked like the man who had stood in a doorway the morning after my mother died and said, "We're going to be okay, son. We're going to be okay." And we had been. Because of him. Because he showed up. Every single time. Without condition. Without exception. Without keeping score. I sat down in the chair across from him. We didn't speak for a minute. Then he said, "You eat anything today?" "Not really." He shook his head. "There's crackers in the drawer," he said. "The orange package?" "There's another one. Blue." I opened the drawer. Got the crackers. Sat back down. He looked at the window. "Spring's coming," he said. "Yeah. Can't tell yet. But it's coming. I know." He was quiet for a moment. "Raymond." "Yeah, Dad. You're going to be all right?" "I know," I said. And the remarkable thing was, I meant it. I sat in that room until 6 p.m. We watched the nature documentary. We ate crackers. He beat me twice at the word game he made up involving animal names and capital cities. He was sharper than me on his worst day. Always had been. Always would be. At 5:58 he looked at me over his glasses. "Same as tomorrow?" he asked. "Same as tomorrow," I said. He nodded. "Good." He went back to the documentary. A pride of lions in tall grass. Moving toward something. Patient. Certain. Going exactly where they were supposed to go. I watched my father watch the lions. And I thought, I have spent 56 years trying to be worthy of this man. I think I'm getting there. Some people show up. And some people have people. Make note of the difference. Write it somewhere permanent. Because one of them will be there when the morning comes. And one of them will text you updates from Savannah. If you've been watching this story, you already know which one stays. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'll see you on the next one. Before Saturday. Let me back up further. Because you need to understand what 9 years looked like. Not just Saturday. The whole picture. My name is Raymond Cole. I am 56 years old. I grew up on the east side of Columbus in a 2-story house on Fenwick Street that my parents paid off before I graduated high school. My mother died when I was 31. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and final. The kind that doesn't give you much time to prepare. Harold Cole prepared anyway. That was him. He did the funeral arrangements himself. He called the family. He organized the repast. He held it together for me and Diane for 3 weeks straight without letting either of us see him break. I found out later he broke every night. In the garage. Alone. Sitting in the car. Crying in the dark so his kids couldn't hear. He told me this 8 years after she died. Just mentioned it. Casual. Like it was an ordinary detail. "Raymond," he said. "I used to go sit in the car." I said, "After Mom?" He said, "Yeah. Couldn't do it in the house. Didn't want you and Di to hear." I said, "Dad." He said, "It was fine. I was okay." He was 56 years old when he lost her. Same age I am now. And he handled it alone so his kids didn't have to. That was Harold Cole. That was the man I grew up watching. You understand why showing up isn't optional to me. You can't grow up in that house and have it be optional. I married my first wife at 29. Her name was Teresa. Good woman. Honest. We were wrong for each other in the specific way that two decent people can be wrong for each other. No villain. No drama. Just slowly different directions. We divorced when I was 38. Harold never said a bad word about Teresa. Before or after. He shook her hand at every family dinner. He shook her hand when she came to pick up the last of her things. Because she was a person and she had tried. And Harold Cole respected people who tried. I met Denise 2 years later. She was smart, ambitious, polished in the way that impressed me at 40 when I was still figuring out who I was after 22 years of shift work and one ended marriage. She was good at first meetings. And second meetings. And the early years. And then things settled. Into a pattern. Into a rhythm. Into me handling things. Quietly. And her having what she called her life. Which was real and I'm not dismissing it. She had a job she worked hard at. Friends she valued. Things that mattered to her. They just didn't always include showing up for Harold Cole. Or for me. When it was hard. When it counted. I noticed it around year 3. Let it go. Year 5. Let it go. Year 7. Let it go. Year 9. Standing at the bottom of the stairs. Couldn't let it go anymore. Marcus Webb. I want to tell you more about Marcus. Because Marcus deserves more than a paragraph. He's 61 years old. Born in Cleveland. Moved to Columbus in his early 30s for work and never left. Has been married to Angela for 29 years. 2 daughters. Both in college. One studying nursing. One studying environmental science. He is exactly the kind of man who charges his phone every night because he doesn't want to miss a call. He is exactly the kind of man who keeps jumper cables in his trunk even though he's never needed them for himself. He is exactly the kind of man who, when you call him at 6:52 in the morning and tell him your father is on the kitchen floor, says I'm getting dressed without needing any more information. We'd known each other for 7 years. And in those 7 years I had called him maybe 5 or 6 times for something serious. He had never once made me feel like I was using up credit. He just answered. Every time. Like that was the deal. I had never said the deal out loud. He never required me to. The deal just was what it was. The way good friendship works. No transaction. No ledger. Just, I will be there when it matters. And then being there. When it mattered. I thought about that during those 3 days. I thought about what it meant that Marcus Webb, a man I'd met on a job site, showed up without question. While the woman I was married to texted updates from Savannah. I thought about that a lot. And every time I thought about it, something got a little clearer. Diane. My sister Diane is 3 years younger than me. Lives in Cincinnati with her husband Thomas and their teenage son Marcus. Named him Marcus. Not after my Marcus, but interesting coincidence. She is an elementary school reading specialist. She teaches children to read. And then to love reading. She has been doing this for 22 years. She is exceptionally good at it. She has Harold's stubbornness and my mother's patience and her own specific thing. Which is that she sees people. Really sees them. The way a teacher has to learn to see a kid who isn't getting it yet. Not with frustration. With curiosity. With the specific determination to find the way in. She had seen Denise clearly from year 1. She told me once, early on, carefully, in the way she told me hard things. She said, Ray. She's not unkind. She's just self-directed. I said, what does that mean? She said, it means she's good at the relationship when it's good for her. I'm not sure about the other times. I said, you're being hard on her. She said, I'm being accurate. She was right. She was accurate. She's always been accurate. I just wasn't ready to hear it in year 1. Or 2. Or 4. You hear things when you're ready. Saturday morning I was ready. The PT sessions. Dad had 2 physical therapy sessions per day at Sunrise Recovery. Morning at 8. Afternoon at 2. Darius was the morning therapist. He was 28 years old. Patient in the way of someone who had decided patience was a professional tool and had sharpened it. He worked with Harold like he had all the time in the world. Even when Harold pushed back. Which Harold did. Regularly. Mr. Cole, I need you to hold the walker with both hands. I've got it with one. I understand that. Both hands please. I've been using my hands for 79 years, son. Yes sir. Both hands please. Harold grumbled. Used both hands. I watched this from the doorway Tuesday morning. Darius caught my eye. Gave me a very small nod. That nod said, I got him. I've got him. And I thought, how many people have I trusted with my father? Not many. And every one of them was someone who showed up. Without being asked much. Without needing much. Just showed up and did what was needed. The way Harold had always done. The way Harold had taught me to do. The second call. Friday evening. I was back at home. Sitting at the kitchen table. Dinner cooling on the stove. Denise was upstairs. We had said what needed to be said. We had not said everything. But the important things. The real things. The honest things. My phone rang at 8:42. Dad. I picked up immediately. Dad. Everything okay? He was quiet for a second. You eat dinner? He asked. I was standing in my kitchen. No, I said. Not yet. Raymond. Dad. Go eat dinner. I'm fine. You're sitting at the table staring at the wall. I know how you sit. I laughed. Caught myself. Actually laughed. How do you know how I'm sitting? I know my son, he said. And then he said, Raymond. Yeah. You done anything stupid? I thought about it. No. Good. You going to? Don't plan to. Good. A pause. You're going to be okay, he said. I know, Dad. I know you know. But hear it from me anyway. Okay. Because it's different when you hear it from me. It was. It always was. He'd been saying it since I was 11 years old. Standing in doorways. Sitting on the edge of beds. Calling from hospital rooms. Calling from rehab facilities. Calling at 8:42 at night to make sure his son ate dinner. You're going to be okay. I've spent 56 years believing it because he said it. Because Harold Cole said things he meant. And he meant everything he ever said to me. Yeah, I said. I know, Dad. Good. He cleared his throat. Now I'm going to bed. You should too. Yeah. Good night, son. Good night, Dad. I love you. I love you too, Dad. He hung up. I sat there for a moment. Then I got up. Reheated dinner. Ate it. All of it. Because Harold Cole told me to. And you don't not do what Harold Cole tells you. What happened with Denise? I'm going to tell you because you came all this way. We talked. More than once. Thursday. Friday. Saturday. 3 conversations over 3 days. The kind of conversations that shouldn't take 3 days but do because we were both being honest. And honesty sometimes needs room to breathe. She said, I know I've been absent. I said, yeah. She said, I know Saturday was wrong. I said, it was. She said, I want to fix it. And I looked at her. 9 years of her face. The good mornings and the difficult evenings and the specific way she looked when she'd made a decision about something and wasn't going to move. And I said, I don't think fix is the right word. She was quiet. Fix means broken, I said. Like a pipe. Or a roof. It means it was whole before. She nodded slowly. And I said, I think the honest thing is that some of what I thought we weren't. For a long time. And I'm not angry about that. I just can't keep pretending it's fine. She pressed her lips together. So where does that leave us? She asked. I told her where it left us. I told her what I needed. I told her what I wasn't willing to keep doing. I told her what I thought we had to figure out. And I told her that Harold Cole had hip surgery and he would need me for the next several months and that was non-negotiable and she could decide what that meant for her. She sat with all of it. For a long time. And then she said, I don't want to lose you. I looked at her. Then start showing up, I said. Simply. Plainly. Not cruelly. Just the truth. Start showing up. Not for him. For us. Because showing up for the people I love is who I am. And I need to be with someone who understands that. She looked at me for a long moment. I looked back. And I'll tell you this. I don't know how this ends. I'm not going to pretend I do. We're still talking. Still figuring out the next thing. Some things take time to work out. Or they don't work out. And that's the truth of where things are. What I do know is that I'm not going back to quiet. Not back to smooth. Not back to carrying things alone that I shouldn't be carrying alone. Not after Saturday. Not after what Harold Cole showed me. What he's always shown me. What it looks like to love someone right. To show up without conditions. To keep coming back. To stand in doorways. To sit in parking lots. To take 4 steps with a walker because Darius said so even though you've been using your hands for 79 years. Harold Cole taught me what love looks like in practice. Not in words. In practice. Every day. For 56 years. And I'm not settling for anything less than that. Not anymore. 6 weeks later. Dad came home to Fenwick Street on a Tuesday. Diane came up for the weekend. Marcus and Angela brought food. Again. Because that's what they do. We sat in Harold's kitchen. The same kitchen where he'd been on the floor 6 weeks earlier. We ate. We talked. Dad moved around the kitchen with his cane. Slowly. Deliberately. The way Harold Cole did everything now. Not slower because he'd given up. Slower because he understood the value of getting somewhere right. At some point Marcus said, "Mr. Harold, you need anything from that top shelf?" My father looked at the shelf. Looked at Marcus. "I got it," he said. He got it. His way. With his cane. With his hands that had worked for 79 years. With the specific dignity of a man who knew what he could do and did it. Diane and I looked at each other across the table. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. This, her eyes said. This right here. This is what we come from. And she was right. This is what we come from. Harold Cole. Standing at his kitchen counter. Making his own coffee. In his own house. On a Tuesday morning in April. The Ohio spring finally showing up. Late. But there. Exactly like it always was. Always coming. Even when you couldn't see it yet. Some people show up. Make a note of them. Keep them close. Because when the morning comes. And the phone rings. And someone you love says your name in a voice that isn't their voice. You'll know who to call. And you'll know who will answer. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And take care of your people. The ones who show up. Show up back. Every single time. No exceptions. No conditions. Just show up. I'll see you on the next one. I want to tell you some things Harold Cole said to me over the years. Not the big things. The small ones. Because the small ones are where it lives. When I was 12 and broke my arm at baseball practice and he drove me to the ER and sat with me for 4 hours, he said, "Pain is information, son. You don't have to like it. You just have to use it." When I was 17 and failed my driver's test the first time, he said, "You'll pass it next time. And if you don't pass it next time, you'll pass it the time after that. Keep trying until you don't have to anymore." When my mother died and I fell apart in the kitchen at 2 in the morning, he said nothing. He just sat down across from me and put his hands on the table and stayed there until I was ready to go back to bed. When I told him about Teresa, he said, "These things happen to good people. You'll be okay." When I introduced him to Denise, he shook her hand and said, "Nice to meet you." Which was Harold's version of "I'm reserving judgment." Which I know now. I should have listened to. When I retired from the fire department with my left knee not what it used to be, he said, "You gave 22 years. Nobody can take that from you. What comes next? What comes next? Not, what a shame. Not, what will you do now? What comes next?" Harold Cole was always looking forward. Even at 79. Even on a kitchen floor. Even in a rehab facility with a replaced hip and a cane, he was still figuring out. What comes next? That's who raised me. That's the man I was trying to be worthy of. I hope I'm getting there. Saturday. The morning after Gerald Marsh's visit. I drove to Sunrise Recovery at 7:30. Dad was in his morning PT session. I sat in the family lounge and drank the coffee that was better than hospital coffee but still not good. Darius came out at 8:45. "He's doing great," he told me. "Good day?" "Really good day." He walked the full hallway without stopping. "How long is the hallway?" "About 40 feet. Harold Cole. 40 feet. For days post-surgery. "Sure," Darius said, smiling. He told me he used to walk a mail route that was 3 miles a day. I said, "Yeah." He did that for 34 years. Darius shook his head. "That's incredible," he said. Then, "The recovery is going to go well. I can tell. He's motivated." "Harold Cole is always motivated," I said. Darius went back. I finished my coffee. Marcus texted at 9:02. "How's Mr. Harold this morning?" I smiled. You know what? I actually smiled. Walking the hallway, I texted back. 40 feet. His response came back in about 10 seconds. "Of course he is." That's it. 3 words. Of course he is. Marcus Webb, 3 streets over. 61 years old. Who showed up at 7:16 in the morning with no notice. Who sat in a parking lot. Who brought food. Twice. Who texted the next Saturday morning to check on a man he met once at a cookout. Of course he is. I want you to find a Marcus in your life. I want you to be a Marcus in someone else's. Because the world runs on people like Marcus. It runs on the showing up. The parking lots. The orange package from the vending machine. The second ring. The drive from Cincinnati at midnight. The hallway. 40 feet. Step by step. No drama. Just forward. Let me be clear about something. The money was not the point. I want you to hear that. Harold Cole did not update his will to punish Denise. He did not do it to reward me. He did not do it because of Saturday. He did it because of 30 years of watching. He did it because he had built something with his hands and his time and his discipline, and he understood where that building came from. He understood what it cost. He understood what it represented. Not just financially. In terms of what it took to build it. The post office route in February. The nights my mother was sick and he still got up at 5:30. The years they went without a vacation because something else needed it more. The Fenwick Street house that they paid off by doing the things that nobody else wanted to do for longer than anyone expected. That's what the will represented. The accounting of a life lived deliberately. And Harold Cole decided who that accounting should go to based on a simple question. Who showed up? Not who was in the room. Not who was on the paperwork. Who showed up? The answer was clear to him. It had been clear for a while. The hospital just gave him the quiet and the time to do something about it. That's what the will meant. It meant, I see you. I have always seen you. And I am using the last power available to me to say so. Permanently. Legally. Without ambiguity. Harold Cole said I love you the way Harold Cole said everything. Through action. Clear. Final. Unmistakable. For Saturdays after the surgery I took Dad to his follow-up appointment at Dr. Osei's office. Tuesday had been the goal for this visit. Osei examined him. Checked the x-rays. Walked him through the range of motion tests. He looked at Dad. He looked at me. He said, this is exactly where we want you to be at 4 weeks. Dad said, 4 weeks and 2 days. Osei smiled. 4 weeks and 2 days. You're doing remarkably well. Keep up with the PT, watch the stairs. No driving for another 6 weeks. Harold's mouth pressed together. 6 weeks. I understand, he said. I'll drive him, I said. I know you will, Osei said. He shook Dad's hand. Then mine. You've got a good son, Mr. Cole. Dad looked at me. The gold April light was coming through the office window. Different from the March light. Warmer. Longer. More certain. I know, Harold said. He always says that. I know. Like it was never in question. Like it was the most settled fact available. I love you, Dad. I said it right there in Dr. Osei's office. In front of Osei and his assistant and whoever was in the waiting room outside. Said it out loud. No occasion. No drama. Just the truth. Harold Cole looked at me. He had his cane in his right hand. His jacket buttoned. His shoes tied the way he tied them. Like a man who took the ordinary things seriously. He said, I love you too, son. And then, now let's go. I want lunch. We went to the diner on Broad Street. Marcus's Diner. The Tuesday lunch place. We got a booth. Dad ordered the turkey sandwich. I ordered the soup. We sat there for an hour. Talked about baseball. Talked about the neighborhood. Talked about what he wanted to do with the garage this summer. Ordinary things. The best things. The things that make a life. I paid the check. He argued. I won. He let me. Which meant he was tired. Or in a good mood. Or both. We drove back to Fenwick Street. I got him inside. Got him settled. Made him tea. Chamomile. For minutes. He sat at the kitchen table. The same kitchen. Same linoleum. The coffee maker on the counter. Everything back in its place. Everything as it should be. I love you, Dad, I said at the door. He had his crossword. His glasses. His tea. His house. His life. Intact. Still standing. Because we built it that way. Because that's what Coles do. We build things that hold. We show up until the thing stands on its own. And then we show up some more. Go on, he said. I'm fine. I know you are. I'll call tonight. I know you will. I closed the front door. Walked to my truck. Started the engine. The diner receipt was still in my pocket. Marcus had texted. How was the appointment? Good, I texted back. Really good. His response, Good man. Your dad's a tough one. Yeah, I texted. He is. I put the truck in drive. And I went home. And whatever came next was going to come next. But I was going to be okay. Harold Cole told me so. And Harold Cole never said anything he didn't mean. That is the Steady Father. Subscribe, like, comment. Tell me where you're watching from. I'll see you on the next one.